Alright, it's your boy JR Reviews, aka Josh Reviews Incorporated, aka Senpai JD, aka Senpai Josh, the anime fucking boss. Let's get it, let's fucking go. Here to bring you guys, yes, another anime review. I know last one was pretty droopy, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to give you a review of it because I thought it was still a great anime for the dark subject matter it really focused on. That's all I can say. But now we're gonna get into a more happier, more of a, how you say, different animes than I've ever reviewed before. Now, in the past, I reviewed a lot of ecchi and horror animes, and I'll admit, yeah, I like those. I'll actually love those. One of my preferred genres. But when I watched, there's this one anime. I'm not even sure what to classify this one. It's a historical fiction, historical slice of life ish kind of drama, and it's called Arte. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. It does have an English dub. The anime is called Arte. Takes place in 1400s, I believe, around 1500s, Florence, Italy. And the anime opens up with a beautiful, beautiful scene. Still think the opening of the anime is a really good opening song. The ending of the ending song is also really good. I also believe the way they opened the first episode was really beautiful. The way they opened the first episode is so beautiful in the fact that it opens up with a beautiful Florentine morning as the rising sun opens up, or the rising sun in the sky starts to enlighten a courtyard and everything, and it reveals a young woman doing sketches outside her windowsill in her nightgown, and you're told that she was up all night doing these sketches when her maid walks in. She says, "You didn't sleep, madam?" Said, "No, I just sketched all night." This girl's name is Arte, and we are introduced. She is from a noble family, her aristocratic family, who is now running out of money after her father had died, and her mother is pushing her to get married, to another nobleman, and to get married so they can have a dollar, so she can probably pay a dowry and finally bring more money into the family. That's what families were like back then, and like aristocratic families and nobleman families back then. Marriages were more allegiance and wealth gaining thing than they were for love. For love was for peasants to have, not for like royalty and noblemen. Noblemen were like, you're lucky if you met the person met the person you're about to marry. You're lucky if that ever happens. Sometimes you don't even meet them until the day of the wedding, or a couple months before the wedding, and you're expected to make a family together with this person. Anyways, and Arte, being of noble background, obviously got the things that most people didn't. Education, taught how to read, write, the artistic design, all that, of that time. She knows how to sculpt, paint, sketch, and but she doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want this. She wants to be an artisan. She wants to become an artist. And her mom's does not want her. And one scene, takes all her sketches and drawings and stuff and starts a bonfire and starts to try to burn them. And that day or that night, she rescues them all. And she goes into town. She leaves her home and goes into town with all her sketches that are half burnt, and tries to go to all the workshops to get an apprenticeship. And all of them she gets turned away from all of them because she's a woman. And back then, women weren't seen as potential artisans or anything really. You're not supposed to have a job if you're a woman. The only job you could probably have was either prostitute, nanny, cook, maid. That's about it. Or housewife. Those were the jobs, and one of them you didn't even get paid for. I don't think that was the housewife one. But the other jobs you got paid. And this anime really does highlight the overwhelming fear of being taught all the necessary things you want and being from a wealth influent family and all that. But the thing you want to do most of all is something that is either looked down upon or is not set in your thing, like in your your social classes worldview. Not only because people who are the artisans aren't from noble families, they're from either middle class or peasant families who are trying to become, in a way, noble with the amount of the money their artisans works. The thing is, though, I like how that her having this formal teaching, being taught like this, she's actually ahead of most apprentices that she goes into. And once there's a couple of scenes where I like in general where finally just after months or days, a few days of going to door to door to different workshops to ask for people to to become an apprentice. Another man, I forgot his name. I'll probably put his name up in the video. Probably put each character's name up when they come up. Come and he's like he basically gives her a shot because she reminds him of him when he was a kid, and there's a couple flashback scenes where he was the same way, where he would go and he got tossed out because he was either poorer than he was supposed to be. He was living on the street, and no one would give him a chance until one man did give him a chance, and the man that gave him a chance was always harder on him because you could see that later on it was reviewed when he's harder on the Arte, but he was hard on him because he could see that he was above the rest of the class, where the class would just do the bare minimum, and they would get praised, while he would go beyond, and he was just like, you should have done better. Anyways, I like that part, and also this anime teaches you a lot of lessons in each episode, and that's what I really like. Each episode is really about a lesson to be learned. In one episode later on, she is taught one episode there she is taught so anyways, in the same episode he says, I won't give you an apprenticeship right away. What I want you to do is basically paint all these boards that they would use to make paintings, right? And rough them up so they're straight laced and there's no bumps, and then paint them over to make them white. And I want you to do all 23 of these or something like that, or 20 something like 20 of them, something like that, before dawn. If I get back and you're not done at dawn, you can't be my apprentice, right? And these boards are heavy, let alone that the amount of work for a woman to do them is very strenuous. So he kind of set up her to fail immediately in a way, but and I guess in his eyes also, if you really want to do the work, you'll overcome it. You really want to become an artisan, my apprentice, you'll overcome it. And surprisingly, when he gets back, she's all done with all of them, and she has fallen asleep on the boards and basically he has another room a shack upstairs that becomes her bedroom. Might as well is run down, and it's one of my funniest scenes ever is where he's like, "This will be where you stay in the shop, this will be your stay." And she's like, it's very very run down, and he's like, "Well, you could always stay with me in my own bed," and he says, "I'll take the shack, thank you very much." And I think it was a very funny scene because the way she looked at him like, "Yeah, I'll take the shack, thank you very much." And then anyways, there's another moment in this anime, or Arte, in the anime of Arte, which is the girl's name as well, where she is told to carry supplies all the way with a wheel, basically a pushing wheel. It has wheels and you have to push it. And no one will help her when she's struggling, except for one guy, and when he finally learns how to does it, he shows her how to do it, she does it right? It's lift with your, push with your legs and your arms, not just your arms. She was pushing with her arms, and she able to learn it. Another scene was where she overcomes inequality, is where I would say when she wants to sketch a sculpture, a bust of someone in a workshop. The guy won't let her in the workshop because she's a woman, and the friend she made is the artisan in charge of that workshop, or is an artisan, another fellow artisan apprentice, the one that helped her with the wheelbarrow, is the one who works at that workshop and tries to get the boss to let her in, but he won't let her in. And then she sees that no one wants to carry the bag of like clay that they use for the making of the sculptures and all that. And she says, if I can, he says, okay, I'll make you a deal. If I can carry all 10 bags of those clay into the storage area, you let me sculpt that picture, that thing, right? That sculpture. And he's like, there's no way, it's impossible. And he's like, I bet you. He's like, I'll do it. He's like, okay, I'll let you do it. If you can do that, all that, then fine. And I love, she ends up like first not able to do it, and she remembers the lift with your legs thing when she was doing the thing, pushing of the cart, and she does that, and it actually ends up working. And she actually takes all 10 bags to the storage room, and she starts to sketch, and her hands are like, I guess you could say she's really tired out. Her hands are like shaky and stuff, and she's like, I don't want to leave this place to sculpt. And he's like, don't worry, this is the guy who originally said you can't come in, so you can come back tomorrow and finish the sculpt, your sketch. So I thought that was very beautiful. Like, after she got to prove herself to that man that she could do whatever, just as what a man could do. Another beautiful, kind of like not a beautiful scene, but her first ever work commissioned was by a prostitute. Which at first, when she first meets her, is on a carnivale, which is a type of a Mardi Gras. It was like a Mardi Gras, like carnival. It's carnivale, but like this was the first time she meets her, and she's in a design as a boy because they're going to go visit. What they're doing is they're seeing a autopsy, and back then autopsies were carried out mainly in church by the church officials and a few doctors. And she says that's how the way we're gonna. So it was a teaching moment from her master said that the way we sculpt humans, paint and sketch humans, that we learn it from watching a autopsy, because that's how we can see the dimensions, the person, and all that. Like, it goes very in depth, and I thought it was very cool, and it didn't hold back its punches. And I'm not even lying, this anime, close to the only time I've ever seen the shown architecture and artistic and all that type of stuff as beautiful as this was in Assassin's Creed 2. The original Assassin's Creed 2. They've got everything, and they don't just stay in Florence, and later on in the episodes they end up going to Venice. But I'll get to that at a point. Anyways, there's a whole arc with the prostitute being her first commissioner. It's really commission. Is she's doing a self-portrait of the prostitute. And what I liked about it was that it also showed the difference in like worldview. So the prostitute uses men as a way to get her life, because when she first meets the prostitute, she's very nice dressed and everything. And when she first goes to her home, it's a mansion. It's a huge ass mansion. And not only is this, she's basically using men for their money, but their men are falling in love with her. And at some point during the arc, when they were going to go, small arc, you could say, when they were going to go see the dead body, the autopsy done, she was found out as being a woman. And back then, having a woman present at the autopsy or something like that was considered taboo and very bad. And it's, let alone, very bad, just like really, really bad. So they all chased after her, and her master like grabbed her, but she thinks she sprained her ankle perfectly, and she started to feel like kind of like romantic feelings for him. And I was kind of struggling with her because she was starting to like get how be more embarrassed and weirded out when she was around him. She would always fantasize little things, and get embarrassed right in the face, like every anime character does when they're kind of in love. And one moment I like there's a contrast where she's like, I don't like that to the prostitute how you use men to justify what you do, but in the way she's like but when she's a prostitute and she's a woman, her prospects in life are already down in that scenario because being all that. And I love this one statement where the prostitute, she takes her on a small journey to a small like part of the slums, and she points out a woman who's like legit like living a hell life. She's like in tatters. Her usually gaunt appearance, right? Everything. And I love this line. Do you know who that is? She says, no, I don't. She used to be the top-rated courtesan, which means the prostitute in Italian, or no, which is basically the courtesan. Top-rated, most high-value, beautiful, and most well-known courtesan. Not only a few years ago, about 5 to 10 years ago, and Arte is shocked and says, "What happened to her?" And Arte says, "Well, what happened to her? She fell in love. She fell in love with a client, and it didn't work out. And then when she came back to the profession that she was working on, no one wanted her because she was viewed as damaged goods because she had fallen in love." And for course, that's why in the scene, like where the prostitute is saying is, for us women, falling in love isn't a luxury. We don't have that. Men have that. We don't. So if I use men to get what I want, it's because I have to. Otherwise, I won't have a way to feed my family, myself, and keep up the life that they're used to now. And it really is a very like sociological, political, and psychological anime. It really does like shows you the viewpoint of women back then and what they had to deal with. And I really like that. I also like there's a scene part of the anime where later on where this guy from the Phoenician nobleman who comes to visit Arte, and he wants to sponsor Arte and become her benefactor. And also wants her, but first before that he wants her to teach her his niece back in Venice. For a few episodes she's waving around about it, and he says she finally agrees, and they go to Venice. And what we come to find is this girl doesn't want to be a nobleman. She doesn't want to be this and that. She really just, she was thought to believe that she has no manners and all that. All her parents people around are convinced that she has no manners whatsoever. The reason why why she is that is she's actually fooling her when she has manners, and she just doesn't want to show it because she knows that if she gets shown it at some point they'll force marriage upon her, and she doesn't want to. She also doesn't want to be a nobleman because she thinks it's crappy, and her parents, for what happened was because she was born, and then after she was born, she was shipped off to a maid's house, and a maid, she grew up in that family with the maid and her son and everything, and she realized at like a young age that was like, she kind of thought that was her family, only to realize that when the maid got sick with, I think it was the plague or something, and she died, her supposed big brother, which is not her actual brother, says that we're not family. And in that moment, like literally, she was taken away from her brother, or her big brother, and other thing. And then she's always she's told him that, there's a romantic love there. I'm not even lying, there's romantic love there with her and her adoptive brother, which I have nothing against. In that time period, it was very common for something like that to happen. Even though it was not common for a peasant's, a maid's son to marry a noble woman, it's very common for that time period. There was a line perfectly seen where he says, "I don't want to be near you because I can't be near you because I never will experience the luxury of having a roof over my head that won't leak. I won't have a feeling of knowing my money won't never end. I never have the experience of knowing where I'll get my next meal if I just go to get my next meal." Because he's saying our lives are differently. He says, I'll work so hard and work every day to become a person that you could be. He says, when it comes to that time, he kind of says, I want to be near you at that point. So there's anyways, Arte really does. The dad in that nobleman's family, that girl's family, is a complete asshole. There's a couple of times where he insults the daughter, and Arte finally has enough at one point, and kind of yells at him back and says that, your daughter is trying her best. Da da da. If she didn't have such a fuck off father, there wouldn't be a problem. Anyways, Arte, all of this time she's in Venice, Arte's master has been doing a commission of a church. He's painting the church ceiling, like the Sixtine Chapel, just a little bit more smaller. And he comes down with a fever. And when she ends up getting the choice to either stay and becoming a full part of that household, where that nice nobleman was not the father of the girl, but the uncle of the girl, would become her benefactor and pay for everything, as well as family commissions and all that, her stay, food, warm, everything, which is for an artisan is a dream come true. She says, no, I still have a lot to learn. I want to go back to Florence. But she says, okay, and he still they become friends. She becomes friends with the girl, and talks to her, writes with her letters, and basically, there's a great line where the end of the anime, where his master has come down with fever. She comes back, and she takes over his work for the thing with other artisans that she has made friends with throughout the anime, and they all help to finish the commission and put time to deadline, which I think was Easter Sunday, which I thought was I remember crying at this scene. I'm choking up tears right now. And the master says, I thought you would have stayed in, he wakes up from his fever and everything, goes back to normal, walks back to the church one night when other people have gone, and she's just finishing the rest of the work by herself by candlelight, by the way. It's candlelit, and he says, I thought you would have you just stayed in Venice. He said, nope, I'm still have a lot to learn, master. And he says, from judging from your work here, it doesn't seem like you have a lot to learn, more to learn, but whatever. And I just like that scene. And there's another scene. Anyways, she ends up finishing by the Easter Sunday, and that Sunday after the thing is done, people come into the church steeple in Grove, or the church in Groves, and one of the people is Arte's mom, the person who was so against originally the entire plan of her daughter becoming an artisan, and finally for the first time sees her work all upon the church, and says, I was wrong, Arte. You definitely just from the magnificent, beautiful thing you created, I was so wrong. Could you ever forgive me? In like a upper class woman's way of saying it, but yeah. And Arte does say, yeah, I can forgive you, and that's the ending of the anime. There's really not much there left. I think that there's a manga series. Hopefully there's a manga series. I want to see if there's more to it after that, because I really liked it. Like I said, this really does have a great message, and it makes you learn more about the artisan way of life back then, what it was like for women, and what things were stuff. And I think it has a great message for today's women too. That just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't do certain things. Look at this girl. There were a few female artisans back in the Renaissance time, so there wasn't unheard of for a woman to become artisans. It was unlikely, but it was not unheard of. And in this case, there's a fictional one, Arte, which is funny because in Italian, arte means art. And I thought that was very beautiful. That not only she's named after art, but that she is becoming an artisan and wants to do art. And the works that she does are beautiful. If I had to give this anime a legit rating, it's 10 out of 10. I don't care. You are going to say, Josh, you're blowing smoke up his ass. No. If you can sit down and watch something, watch this anime. It's on Hulu. You can watch it. Okay, it's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, go watch it. English dub. It's amazing. It's definitely worth the watch. That's all I gotta say. Thank you all for watching. You have a great day. Please don't forget to subscribe, by the way. It really helps out my channel when you helps me out. Subscribe. You need to get to that 250 so I can give you guys that giveaway. Peace out, guys.
Yeah. I said, whoa. First, let me hop out the motherfucking Porsche. I got 2 girls riding on my dick like a horse. Burn Figmas on Figmas. These people can't stop me. 2D girls fuck fucking be senpai's new hobby. Pull the pants so I can tip to your waifu. I'm the king of this shit. Wife was flocking from the nation just to come hear me spit. Got the 2D game unlocked. If you ain't about this